How do you think the world would react if 2% of the population just died? That's all of Russia suddenly dying. That's a lot, people. Proof. 7,700,000,000 0.02 equals 154 million. I had to do the math too and was shocked that Russia doesn't have a larger population. It might be a lot of people, but it is also the net increase in the world's population in the last 2 years. Well, would they kind of disappear like abducted by aliens? Or would we now just have a shit ton of bodies to take care of? Either way, there would be conspiracy theories and memes. So, no difference then. Shit ton of bodies to take care of? I know who would be perfect for the job. I don't know, probably 2 superpowers with drastically different ideologies will rise up and begin a 44-year-long global conflict which will eventually lead to the deaths of millions more over smaller proxy wars and eventually subside after one of the superpowers gets dismantled. Oh no, wait. I read that as 3%. I have no idea for 2. Thank God it's only 2%, brother. Well, it doesn't make much of a difference in my milk, so I'm gonna just assume the same will apply to all of humanity and the world. They'd cancel the South by Southwest Music Festival. As someone who lives in the Austin area, thank God I don't want that shit around here. For comparison's sake, 3% of the population died in WW2, or 9% counting natural deaths, given roughly 1% of the world's population died each year, throughout the war's duration. So 2% would almost be comparable to the wartime deaths of World War II in 1939. I imagine 2% today would be much larger than 3% then, though. 75 million died in WW2. 2% of current population is about 140 million. The number of deaths in World War II is somewhere between 70 million and 85 million. The world population now is just under 8 billion. 2% of 8 billion is 160 million. 2% of today's population would be approximately double the deaths of World War II. Random distribution? Inexplicable causes? All at once? Thinking of how it would affect me personally, I work in a city of about 100,000 population, so 2,000 people suddenly dropping dead would certainly be something. Obviously, there would be mass panic. We wouldn't know if whatever killed these people was going to happen again. Some people would bunker down, some would riot, some would become hedonists because they don't know if they'll live to see another day. I think it would be at least a year before everyone fully accepted that it was a one-time fluke, and by that time the damage to the economy and infrastructure would be difficult to recover from. This refers to the coronavirus though, doesn't it? Just watch The Leftovers for a rough guide. Joking, but seriously, watch The Leftovers. Love that show. It's one of the few shows, in my opinion, that does the ending right. I just finished the show, it's amazing, I don't know why it took me so long before start watching it. Memes. It ain't much, but it's honest work. According to most news outlets, we'll find out in a few months. With indifference if they weren't directly impacted. Shitty but true. They would start buying toilet paper in large quantities. Depends on which 2%. Edit. Wow, I never would have thought that one of my comments would get a Reddit gold. I appreciate the gesture, and whoever did it, you have my deepest gratitude. 2% of the laziest people on the planet, but this information is broadcast 2 weeks before it happens. Exactly what I was thinking. A cult of silent chain smokers would harass every else that was left in order to prevent them from getting on with living. I just started watching a TV show about this. Weird. Which one? The conceit of The Leftovers is a little different in crucial ways, though the people vanish, not die, and it is under incontrovertibly supernatural circumstances rather than a natural if shocking occurrence. The show is in many ways a meditation on grief, but grief in a very specific set of unrealistic circumstances. people wouldn't understand. There would probably some sort of cult arise that don't speak and just smoke because death is meaningless. Life insurance companies will pay out all at once and go bankrupt. These companies are tied into the financial markets, which will undergo a Great Depression-like tumble. Some countries will use this opportunity to attack and overcome their enemies after accusing them of infecting their own country, and the term biological warfare will be used frequently. The result will be global conflict. Hopefully only conventional arms will be used. There will be some work for students. Will be probably terrified to see people die suddenly with no reason at all. You know, they could be next. Either that fear, just fear of something new arriving or happening, or probably no concern at all. I would expect the hashtag #Thanos did nothing wrong to start trending immediately. It depends on where in the world it happened. For example, as sad as it is to say, if that 2% happened to be in Africa, the majority of the world wouldn't give two shits, which is appalling. However, if that 2% was in a Western civilization, suddenly, people would go ape. If it was in much of Africa, their neighbors would take credit. Probably stock up on toilet paper. We'd probably be like, wow, 2% of the population just died. You're talking about 150 million people. Currently about 56 million people die each year, so that would be about 3 years' worth of deaths in what I'm assuming you mean a fairly short time. The world's population would not be significantly reduced. Also, unless only the youngest 150 million of us died, the world's demographics would not be significantly skewed. But our ability to dispose of the remains of the deceased, to probate and distribute their estates, and to manage the grief of their loved ones would be severely taxed. For sure there would be severe issues with safe disposal of human remains. It would be no joke that we'd probably have to start repurposing warehouse food freezers to store human remains until they could be properly disposed of. In addition, cemeteries would be filling up pretty damn fast, and we'd either the founding of new cemeteries or the reuse of existing graves. Shit, we're good at disposing of human remains. Bulldoze a hole, pile them in, and sprinkle them with lime. It's the disruption while they are dying. Shut down trade. Used up hospitals. In World War II, 2 million people died in India because of trade disruption. No battles involved. I would scout the Earth for Thanos and steal his Infinity Gauntlet. And keep snapping nonetheless. I'd go for the head. Considering the panic we're seeing from the coronavirus, which have not killed 2% of the world's population, and likely never will, very very badly. I mean, sure, that would be a lot of people and there would be grieving, but really it would help our environment. The environment would really benefit if 100% of the population died. They literally made a TV show about this. Spoiler. Not well. The Leftovers. I actually love the show. Memes will appear. I don't think most would care. Lots of sex to celebrate and inadvertently repopulate that 2% real quick. Settle down, China flu. It would be all anyone talked about until the bodies were buried, then everyone who didn't lose somebody would move on to the next news cycle. It's those damn phones. What kind of power and control do these 2% exhibit? Deleted. If 2% of this 2% died in the West, there would be plenty of drama, including Hollywood movies. If not in the West, then well, next news. A crow stole underpants from a priest in Minnesota. That's roughly 150 million people. Or roughly the same percent of people who died during the 1918 influenza pandemic, 50 million, or roughly 2% of the world population back then. Post on their Snapchat stories. The Earth would say, y'all couldn't have made it 10%. I'll take what I can get. They would probably be worried about the coronavirus. It seems they are already avoiding everything else. Well, with tons of deaths every second because of illnesses, old age, smoking, etc. I don't think the rate would change that much from the normal. People would react, oh no, we are all going to die, because that's what's happening with coronavirus, which is only going to kill 1% of the population. I think whatever reaction occurs, it would be forgotten after a month. Look how the world is reacting to this coronavirus and you will have a really good idea. We are about to find out. Would they theoretically die from coronavirus, and be spread indiscriminately? Given the current pandemic, there's a chance we're all about to find out.